Welcome back, Kaiju fans. Today we're going to be looking at the Monarch timeline that has been slowly unfolding on Twitter, which is very interesting to think about considering that a lot of the Monarch reports from the past that we're just now learning about coincide very well with the origins of specific monsters and revelations as to where they could potentially be. Kind of linking back to my theory videos that I made on the origins of the 3 new kaiju for the film. So let's get right into this and start off with the first report of 1915. And basically what this is saying is that the first splitting of the atom basically leads through to a gateway to the discovery and revival of the ancient monsters that thrived on radiation. Nothing too crazy, but a good starting point nonetheless. Moving on to 1946, it is the foundation of Monarch, and it reads, in the aftermath of the cover-up of the USS Lawton incident, President Truman unofficially establishes a Monarch unit, a small, off-the-book research team established to engage the systematic study of massive unidentified terrestrial organisms. Privately, many of Truman's allies questioned the validity of the group's theories and to work to keep their existence a secret. So, the creation of Monarch 1946 under Truman. Nothing too crazy yet, stuff that we've known before. Moving on to 1959, we have the Great Smog of London. So, baffling meteorologists and defying atmospheric physics, this unexplained weather phenomenon saw London's something overwhelmed by huge clouds of air-polluting smoke. Monarch theorizes that the beatings of wings of a giant probably creature, could have created an anticyclone that unleashed air pollutants across the city. So, the Great Smog of London, one of the earlier events in the timeline here, and this was created by, it could have been any of our 3 kaiju, knowing that they all have wings, so it's not Godzilla, and it's not the Muto from 2014 because he was not around at this time, but this literally could have been Rodan, Mothra, or Ghidorah because they all have huge wings. It's probably Mothra or Rodan, and I'll get into that why in a minute. So, moving on to 1959, we have the Siberian Mystery, which is really interesting. So it says, sorry, this is really small and blurry. At the height of the Cold War, aerial photography takes a Russian something plane revival. Wow. A huge containment facility established around an ice cap in Siberia. The Monarch symbol can be seen something across the canopy of the structure. So, sorry about that. It's just so blurry because it's taken from the Monarch timeline and we haven't actually got a focused picture of this yet. It's just the movement of it. So, this is like legitimately the clearest picture out there right now. But there appears to be a kaiju buried in Siberia. And this is more than likely King Ghidorah, hibernating here for who knows how long. But this is more than likely Ghidorah because there's no reason that Mothra would be in Siberia. Mothra is, a bug. That's cold is not good for bugs. But it makes sense for Ghidorah as a dragon that he could be sleeping there, being cold-blooded. His body would shut down completely. And it's not Rodan because we'll get to him in the timeline. So, definitely cool that we have a kind of foundation of what we might get as Ghidorah. So, moving on to 1973, Skull Island. We all know what that is, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but 1973 in the timeline, we have Skull Island. 91, Isle de Mona. If I remember this correctly, this is in the Caribbean. I could be totally wrong with that, just tell me. I forgot to look it up before I started recording this. Oh, my bad. But a covert Monarch team establishes a quarantine zone around the island's dormant volcano under the guise of environmental research. Over the coming years, what will begin as a small scientific outpost will expand and become a full containment facility around the mouth of the volcano. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Rodan's location, because Rodan's origin from the original film is he emerges from a volcano. He's hibernating there, and there's another one in an egg that hasn't hatched yet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rodan. I'm going to call it just as confirmed. It's pretty clear, it's pretty obvious. Rodan is at Isle de Mona and has been discovered in 1991. So, there he is. Moving on. 95. Return to Skull Island. This one is really hard to figure out what is going on here because there's so much of it cut off. But it looks like a reinvestigation of Skull Island to see what the original expedition actually accomplished. I don't know why they would need to do this, considering that there were survivors from Skull Island and they went and joined Monarch, and this is a Monarch, timeline, so they know. So it's interesting. They might just be going back to see what the current state of affairs is there, and this might be when they start to realize Kong is growing, or there might be other monsters. It's just interesting to see. And then moving on to our last piece of the timeline we have right now, 1999, the Janjira power plant in Japan melting down, and the discovery of the male Muto, chrysalis. So that's what we have right there. Obviously, the next one we might probably get is 2014 with the awakening of the Muto, the female Muto, and the reappearance of Godzilla, unless there's something else with the other kaiju that we don't know in between 1999 and 2014 that the timeline will reveal later on. We can tell from the timeline on Twitter that there is a lot of stuff still at the end of it, which is probably all those events, and maybe farther on down the line of stuff we haven't seen in the universe yet that's happening after 2014. So it's definitely cool to think about. But what we can derive from this is that Ghidorah, more than likely in Siberia, hibernating, so we have his current location known. And we also have the current location and a exact match to Rodan's original basic origin. So, Rodan confirmed in a volcano. Just like the original film, it's going to incubate him as an egg, and it's going to provide nice warmth for his reptilian body later on in life. And one of them did the Great Smog of London. One of the three, probably not Mothra. I'm gonna assume it's Rodan, because if he's already awake, then he could have gone to that volcano and started to hibernate again after causing the Great Smog of London. So definitely interesting. This timeline is super, super cool. I really am liking what they're doing, them releasing information to kind of tie things together with these monsters. Like, this stuff had happened in the past, you just didn't know about it during the other two films, and it's really, really, really establishing Monarch in a way that the films haven't been able to do yet in their own way. So it's definitely nice to see Monarch as like a key player in this universe really coming to fruition and getting fleshed out in ways that we haven't been able to get yet in the movie. So definitely really sweet there. That's going to be it for right now. That's all we have up to date on the timeline. I will keep updated on this and make any more videos about this in the future if you guys want to stay tuned for that. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hey, thank you guys so much for making it to this point in the video. I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't liked this video or subscribed to my channel yet, that really helps me out a lot. Even if you don't watch all my videos, you can just pick and choose which ones you want to watch. And if you haven't figured it out yet, I just made a Twitter for my actual channel. I'll have it listed up here somewhere, so you guys can click on that and you can get notified whenever I upload a new video or ask me a question if you haven't already stomped on that notification bell for when I upload. That's completely up to you, but thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.